Hello, everybody. Let's just make sure we're streaming. And we are. All right, so today. Oh. So today I am going. All right, so today. So today I am. There we go. Sorry about that. In fact, I'm just gonna start this whole thing over again. Oh no, we've got some people watching. So, okay, so today I'm going to show how to edit podcasts using Goldwave software once my computer decides it wants to open my software again because it's being a little bit lame right now. If you have not podcasted before, this is going to I've already read the story, and this is just going to kind of show you how to like copy and paste pieces, or mostly just cut. I don't really need to paste anything, but I'm going to be able to cut things out of the audio. I'm going to be able to like add silences, get rid of noise, which is really important. Ugh. Hmm. Okay. All right, here we are working. Okay, so here is my audio file here. And I do need to make sure that you can hear this. I assume that you're going to be able to, but I think, here we go. Woo, that's fun. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted that. So, here's the file. This podcast was downloaded from Fanfiction Audiobooks. Okay, cool. All right, so here is our file. You can see the like small spaces where I wasn't talking, the big spaces, the big amplitudes where I was talking. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically just start from the beginning, start listening to this, and cut out any places where I have a lot of space or where I make a mistake or I stutter or something like that. So that's where we're going to start this. So first of all, I'm going to zoom in a little bit by pressing Shift. This podcast was downloaded from Fanfiction Audiobooks. Okay, so obviously this is kind of a long intro. So I'm going to cut it all the way to there, and I'm just going to press, believe it or not, the delete button gets rid of that. So here's the beginning now. This podcast was downloaded from Fanfiction Audiobooks. Awesome. So this is basically how the whole podcast is going to go. It's going to be really easy to get rid of all of this like noise and stuff. So here's this. So you can hear like mouth noises. Sometimes I leave breathing in when it's natural. Sometimes it just depends. So here it's not really. So I'm just going to, well, I need to make sure I leave maybe that much space. And so we're going to go ahead and delete that, just pressing delete on my keyboard. And I use Fanfiction Audiobooks. The mildly perilous and mostly tragic comic misadventures of Sir Roderick Gryffindor and Sir Ivan Harris. Oh my gosh. By Rumpel. There's so many creepy mouth noises in here. I never used to like worry about the mouth noises, but then one day somebody who used to be on HPFF said to me that mouth noises bothered her, and ever since then they have also bothered me. So we're gonna get rid of that. So if you can hear it. So bad. It sounds like a crab's walking around or something. It's just really bad. So let me see how this goes. Sir Ivan Harris. Written by Rumples. Read by Dr. Wynn. Okay, so I'm really nitpicky when I edit, so I like to make sure a lot of the stuff is out of here. When you edit, you don't necessarily have to do as much as I do, but it's just kind of important for me to do this stuff. So, here we go. You can hear, I really needed to take a drink of water. So we're going to go to here and there, and we're going to delete that. So, read by Dr. Wynn. Oops. Chapter 1, in which Ivan dreams like a man. This is where I did drink water. So hold on a second. Chapter 1. So this isn't a really good example of it, but I don't actually know if I have an example of it in this audio file. It looks like I don't. Oh no, yes I do. Further on down the road. So whenever you're editing, one thing you really want to make sure of is that the amplitude of the, like this, doesn't go all the way up here or all the way down there, because that can distort the audio and make it sound really weird. So you just want to make sure that you avoid doing that. Okay, I'm just zooming out again because I need to find where I was, all the way over here. So I like to be really zoomed in when I edit because it's just how I roll. Okay, so I was here. Chapter 1, in which Ivan dreams like a man. Alright, so we're going to cut out me drinking water, obviously. So we're just going to hit the delete button there, and let's listen. In which Ivan dreams like a man. Once upon a time. No, that's not. No, that's not quite right. So here you in a kingdom far away. We've got our first blooper here, obviously. That. In a much no. Let me start this whole thing again. So obviously I messed up. Once upon a time. So I need to cut this whole section. No, that's not. Now for FAB purposes, a lot of times we'll make blooper reels. This I don't think is really good enough for a blooper reel because I'm just like, oh, I need to start this over again. Like once upon a time. I don't think it's that good. No, that's not. No, that's once upon a time. No. Okay, so that's where it starts right there, or the once upon a time. So we're gonna do this and we're gonna cut this whole section. Like so. Boom, gone. In which Ivan dreams like a man. Once upon a time. No, that's not quite right. In a kingdom far away. Okay, here's a great example of what I was talking about earlier. So you can see right here that I don't think it actually does, but for the sake of argument, it definitely does right here. So you can see here that I was talking really loud and I need to decrease the volume in this area. In a kingdom far away. It's just the amplitude is really big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight just the section here, and then I'm pretty sure you can do this in Audacity too. Everything you can do in Goldwave you can do in Audacity for the most part. I just prefer to do Goldwave. I don't like Audacity at all, but it's free, so that's nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to change volume, and what I generally do when I have something with a really big amplitude like that is I just knock it down a couple pegs, maybe a little more than that. Maybe maybe to 70 or maybe 80%. There are presets you can do, like half of the volume, you can double the volume or whatever. Sometimes if you're editing, you'll get somebody who was using like like I have a headset on, but some people use the mic in their laptop. Sometimes it records really quietly or whatever, so you need to decrease or increase the volume appropriately. I'm going to go ahead and decrease this section. So I'm going to hit OK. So you can see when I did that, the amplitude changed on the waveform, and when I play it back,
in a kingdom far away, in a kingdom,
it's still loud, but not to the extent that it was before. So whenever I see that, I'm probably going to do that to the whole section. And you really can't tell whenever you play it back between the two. Like,
far away.
No, that's not quite
Okay, well,
right.
I'm kind of
quiet there.
In a kingdom far away.
Scratch that.
In a much...
Okay. No, that's not quite right. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so we're going to select all and keep going. So, here we go.
Far away.
Okay, well, actually, I'm going to get rid of that because
in a much...
that is the definition of a pregnant pause.
Far away.
Scratch that.
In a much simpler time.
That's not right either.
On a steed he had come.
Okay, so I can show you another way that you can tell that this is too loud is if you watch this bar up here, as long as it stays in the green and maybe a tad in the yellow, you're good. If it goes up here into red, that means it's too loud. So here you can watch.
That's not right.
See how it stays in the green and yellow?
On a steed he had come, his face bathed in sun by the early morn's light.
Okay, so I got a little crazy there. It was a little bit loud, so we just need to make sure that we decrease the volume of this entire thing because it's really loud. So we're going to do the same thing. You're just going to go back in here. I'm going to do the same amount. Ish. Okay, so then let's go ahead and take a listen. That's not right either.
On a steed he had come, his face bathed in sun by the early morn's light.
So it's really not the best quality, like it could be better. I need to not yell into my microphone, but I mean it works. So from here, we're just going to keep going. Actually, hold on. This looks weird. What's this?
Much simpler time.
That's not right.
Much simpler time.
Okay, so we're going to delete that. And let's see.
A much simpler time.
That's not right either.
On a steed he had come, his face bathed in sun by the early morn's light. Ugh, bugger that nonsense. Let's just get right into the thick of things, shall we? After all, this isn't quite a fairy tale, now is it? The kingdom of Mercia was being torn into.
Noise. Okay, let's go to there and we'll delete that out like so. See, editing's not too bad. It's pretty easy.
Now is it? The kingdom of Mercia was being torn into. The kingdom of Mercia was being torn into.
So here we goes, another blooper. So as you can see, editing can be kind of mundane.
The kingdom of Mercia was being torn into.
So let's get rid of that. And we will continue from there.
Now is it? The kingdom of Mercia was being torn into. Canute the Great of the Danes and Edmund Ironside of English blood and nobility had divided the great nation, weakening its entirety. It hadn't been the first time Mercia was split apart, and they had survived before, so the people of the English Midlands had not fear for their So the people of the English Midlands.
Okay, so here we go. Where was this?
Survived before, so the people of the English Midlands had not fear for their
Let's see how we can do this. Let's see how this sounds. I might have cut too much out just then.
They had survived before, so the people of the English Midlands had no fear for their strong nation. By his graces, the people knew only kindness.
So here I'm just going to do a really quick volume decrease. Okay. And then we're going to keep going from...
By his graces, the people knew only kindness, as they were a fearful people, who dared not offend him, for he, the great omnipotent, could unleash the wrath of infinite power, ultimate pestilence unto the land.
Okay, not sure exactly what the heck I was doing here, but we have a very long pause, so we're just gonna get rid of it. Okay, what was I doing here?
Land. In the scarcely traveled region of...
Oh, right, so there was a word that I had to look up here and I got confused. So that's why this pause is so long. So all this, dang it. I really need to use a mouse. Where is the mouse? It'll make this so much better. This computer is terrible. It's my husband's. Alright, so let's see what we got here. Here's this. So we're gonna do that. And we're gonna get rid of all this. I think I messed up this line too, but... Oh! Hello. Oh boy! So that was a fun thing that just happened. So everything I just did is gone, apparently. But don't worry, I did the one thing that every podcaster should do before you do anything, and that is always to save your work so you don't lose it. So I did save mine. Here it is. So I'm just gonna go ahead and continue from where I was because I don't know what just happened, but I'll just go back and fix it later. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in. So to zoom in, I'm hitting Shift and up. So here we go. That could have gone better. I don't know what happened. I've never seen that before. I'm going to blame it on this crappy computer. So about where were we? Oh, that was not helpful. Wait, where? Have we been here yet?
The people of the English Midlands had no fear for their strong nation.
Okay, so here's where we were.
By his graces, the people knew only kindness.
Somebody remind me to go back
people
and re-edit all of that, because that's really unfortunate. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of this again. Actually, we can get rid of all this, because as you'll recall, I messed up because I didn't know how to pronounce a word. So I'll go through all that, and we will delete it. Alright, so here we are. The hell was that?
Due to its lack of significance in trade and...
I think I just skipped forward a bit. Here, let's see. Sometimes editing's straightforward and sometimes technology's stupid, so you know, you roll with it.
On a steed he had...
Okay, so that's that part. I totally lost my place. It happens.
...in its entirety. It had been torn in two. Sorry. The kingdom of Mercia was being torn in two.
Now I'm really lost. Here we go.
No. So the people of the English Midlands had no fear for their strong nation.
This is where I was.
By his graces, the people knew only kindness, as they unleashed the wrath of infinite power, ultimate pestilence unto the land. In the scarcely traveled region of Wicha, even overlooked by the alderman, Leofwin, due to its lack of significance in trade and overall influence, life was pleasantly atypical. Pleasantly atypical. Oh my gosh.
In which I screw up a little bit. Oh, I really didn't go that far. So
due to its lack of significance... No, you know what? In the scarcely traveled region of Wicha.
So this whole thing I've decided is probably good enough to make a blooper reel. And it's not just me going, which I tend to do, or which is another thing I tend to do.
Leofwin.
So I'm going to actually cut this and paste it into a different window so that I can save it.
In the scarcely traveled region.
So we're just going to actually let me zoom out a bit. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to... I see we've got Amy in the chat here. That's all about saving the bloopers. So I'm going to, yeah, whatever. It's fine. So I'm just going to copy and paste this if I can remember how to work a Windows computer. Okay. Yes. So now, right. Okay, here's where we were.
Ultimate pestilence unto the land. In the scarcely traveled region of...
So I don't know if y'all could hear that, but there's like a disconnect in the audio kind of right here. So I'm going to fix that.
In the scarcely...
There's like a little, like, I don't know what that is.
Traveled region.
So I'm really picky. I told you guys I'm super picky. That is enough for me to have to edit that out. I'm also going to save this as I go so that I don't have another thing like I just had a couple minutes ago where I lost everything I was working on. You know what? Thank God I saved that, because the last podcast I edited, I sure didn't save it, but I didn't have any kind of weird, freaky, fatal error. So, you know, whatever. All right, so that should be smooth now.
In the scarcely traveled region of Wicha. In the scarcely traveled region of Wicha, even overlooked by the alderman, Liavwin, due to its lack of significance in trade and overall influence.
Okay, so obviously I've got a couple of hiccups here.
By the alderman, Liavwin.
So I'm just gonna get rid of this part. Actually, I don't know how much of that I need to get rid of. Let's take a look.
By the alderman, Liavwin.
That doesn't even match. I'm gonna go ahead and decrease this volume a little bit, like I showed you earlier. And I'm just gonna do it a little bit so that it matches. That's fine. Okay.
Liavwin, due to its lack of significance.
Let's listen to that.
Liavwin, due to its lack of significance in trade and overall influence, life was pleasantly typical. Eli the bread maker opened his shop before the dawn,
really big
and the sweet smell would carry through the town, rousing the sleeping villagers to greet a new day. Arik the blacksmith would walk the... Arik the blacksmith...
And here I have difficulties.
Arik the blacksmith.
Okay, I think that's all the difficulties I had with that section. So, let's see. How much of this do I need to take out? Yes, that too.
Arik the blacksmith would walk the... Arik the blacksmith would walk the...
Oh my gosh.
Arik the blacksmith.
Okay. So this one, I am going to cut this instead of deleting it. And I'm going to bring this up here, highlight that, Control V. Look at that, another blooper for Amy. Okay. So, where was I? Okay.
Arik the blacksmith would walk the long main street to New Day. Arik the blacksmith would walk the long main street, wishing God's greetings upon the rising merchants until the sun would fully crest over the peaks of forest trees, before retreating to his shop, blessed and prepared for what the day would bring. Eli the bard began his gentle chords outside of the pub, where the owner, Burke, of the Riddell family, sent intoxicated men home to their wives.
Aw. So, the way that I was playing it, you have to have it all selected. My bad.
Or off to their jobs. Farmers would be having their second breakfast, breaking from the arduous labor of their trade. If any happened to be in the town that day, foreign silk and spice merchants would be setting up their shop just after the dew bade its farewell, dissipating beneath the morning rays. The estate...
Okay, so I'm going to get rid of those mouth noises.
Of German...
Oh, that's creepy.
rays. The estate of Germanus Harris.
Oh my gosh, my battery's gonna die. Oh, this computer. I hate this computer. Okay. Let's get that plugged in before my computer dies and it makes this whole thing useless. There we go. Okay. Select all. Here we go.
The morning rays. The estate of Germanus Harris would be roused, bustling with servants to see to it that everything was in order.
So this is a little thing for anybody who's reading a podcast or wants to edit eventually or whatever. If you make a mistake and you mess up a word, it's better for the person who's editing to go back, for you to go back and start either at the beginning of the last sentence or the beginning of the last comma, because it's easy to edit. So if you flub up a word and then just repeat the word, sometimes it doesn't flow well. So it's really important that you go back and say the whole sentence over or the whole clause of the sentence. So now I'm lost because I looked up, where was I?
Harris would be roused, bustling with servants to see to it that
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Let's do that. Getting some Twitter notifications on my phone. Welcome to the new people. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and let's see how it plays now.
Would be roused, bustling with servants to see to it that everything was in order.
Select all.
Germanus himself would be waking, while his wife Lucinda would sleep for just a little longer. Germanus was an important man, and would need to be awake by the sun's earliest light. In fact, today it was especially important for him to rouse early, as today was the day he traveled to Wessex to meet with important men. His estate, as well as his wife and daughter, Ivana, would be left in the care of his brother, Constantine, and his son, Nikolai.
Now, what the heck was I doing here? Like, I just recorded this. I don't understand why I have these long pauses. What was I even doing?
Ivan,
Oh,
Nikolai.
Okay, this whole thing's gonna be a blooper because I changed the way I said her name.
Ivan. His estate, as well as his wife and daughter, Ivana.
So anyway, that's fun. We're just gonna cut is here, and we're gonna go down here. Another blooper for Amy. Control V. Excellent. Now I'm gonna bring this back up, and I'm gonna save it. Save. Save is so often so important. I know anybody that makes graphics probably already knows that, but saving super duper important. So here we go here.
Important men. His estate, as well as his wife.
Do you hear the breathing?
Wife and daughter.
No, we can't have that. Delete. And here we go.
To meet with important men. His estate,
as well as it. I'm so nitpicky.
Meet with important men. His estate, as well as his wife and daughter, Ivana.
No. Delete. And continue.
Important men. His estate,
Whatever,
as well as
fine.
his wife and daughter, Ivana, would be left in the care of his brother, Constantine, and his son, Nikolai. Germanus would not fret the well-being of his family under their supervision, as they would take great care. Ivana, an early riser herself, and who would...
So commentary really fast from Amy, who of course is our podcast administrator and the person who runs the whole show. Just posted in the chat, breathing and podcasts will be the things that kills me. Y'all don't understand. It's so annoying. Like sometimes it's really funny when I'm recording a podcast, I'll take a deep breath and then I'll leave a silence and then I'll start speaking so I can edit the breath out. But then I also realize that it's not natural to never hear breathing in a podcast, so I try it. I don't know, I'm weird. I try and like stagger it. Yeah. I've had a lot of time to think about this. Leave me alone.
As they would take great care. Ivana, an early riser herself, and who would much rather prefer that the narrator, and everybody else for that matter, refer to her as Ivan, though most refuse her this luxury as it is most uncouth, rushed to the courtyard, still donning her dressing gown, to bid her father farewell this morning. She was chased by the blushing chambermaids, who chastised her for streaking across the estate.
Here comes one of those pauses again.
The men across the estate.
Just hitting delete again.
She was chased by the blushing chambermaids, who chastised her for streaking across the estate. The men present in the room, men of strong influence, leered at her as she entered, despite the protest of the chambermaids. To her father's wishes, Ivan was usually kept away from the public eye, locked in her chambers without company. She was in her 17th year now, soon to be married to an influential man, if one would have her despite her otherwise lecherous behavior. It was Ivan's parents who suffered the most for her rudeness and inappropriateness. "Papa!" she greeted cheerfully, not caring that the linen of her gown, meant specifically for sleep and that alone, was too thin, too revealing, and overlooking the mortification that drew deep lines across her father's face. I wish my lord be in wellness and good fortune during his fair."
Okay, so here we have some weird breathing, weird creepy breathing, and yeah.
I wish my world.
Okay.
I wish.
So we're just gonna do that and do that, and let's see.
Across her father's face. I wish my lord be in
Okay, so here's a really great example. You probably could just hear that I cut out too much silence. It kind of crashes together really fast and doesn't sound natural. So I need to undo what I just did and cut less silence out or insert some silence if it's all crappy breathing and mouth noises. So what I'm going to do, let's see, what is this?
I wish my world. I wish my world.
Okay, so I guess I can leave this breath in.
I wish my world. I wish my world. I wish
Okay.
my world.
I know it gets really repetitive, but honestly, this is how editing works. Like, you'll listen to something like a million times. So let's see, we'll leave this breath in and see if that helps.
Across her father's face. I wish my lord be in wellness and good fortune during his farewell.
That worked well.
She paused for a moment, her brazenness suddenly escaping her under the scrutiny of the men in the room. And safe travels. Accursed wench!
Okay, here's where we get to my stupid, my stupid angry voice that is stupid.
In the room.
Hold on.
And safe travels.
Okay, here's one of those things where I took a breath and then left a space. Also, if you're listening, you may notice that there's still what's called noise in the podcast. Like, you can still hear some like background noise. I haven't done my noise reduction yet. I'll do that at the end. That's one thing that I do right at the end. So that's how that's going to work. So I'm going to cut this. No, I'm going to delete it. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but...
Any of the men in the room. And safe travels. Accursed wench! Germanus seethed.
Oh my god.
Seethed, turning his countenance away from his daughter.
Hold on.
Germanus seethed, turning his countenance away from his daughter.
Awkward pause that I'm going to get rid of. Again, I need to stress how much of a perfectionist I am with editing. Some people would leave that in. I'm not going to because I don't like it. Because I need things to work the way I want them to.
Accursed wench! Germanus seethed, turning his countenance away from his daughter. By
Did I just
Mary,
take the
I have
wrong pause out? I mean, it doesn't matter. It still sounds okay.
Accursed wench! Germanus seethed, turning his countenance away from his daughter. By Mary, I have certainly unleashed the wrath of Omnipotent by some misdeed to be woefully cursed with such a demon.
It is really embarrassing to listen to this right now. I just want everybody to know that. Like, it's really embarrassing. My voice is so bad. Alright, where did this start? Right here?
Daughter, by Mary,
Okay, right. So this whole thing needs to come down a couple pegs. It's pretty intense, and I want people to have eardrums when they're finished listening to it. So I'm just gonna decrease this. Look at this. Okay, this is a really good example of look at this line here, the way this is totally green up here, it goes all the way down to the bottom. This is too loud. This is Ashley yelling into the microphone. Just say no to yelling into the microphone. I will probably should have moved the mic away from my mouth when I did this, but I didn't. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh, wait! Oh, right! Okay, so after doing that voice, I couldn't talk anymore, and so I'm coughing into the microphone, so that explains that. We're gonna cut that out. Right. Maybe before I do a big noise reduction, I should make sure that...
Such a demon.
I should make sure that this is all dialogue.
Hi, child! You have demand... Oops.
Okay, alright. Well, let's just do this section here a little bit. Right? Okay. I'm just doing a little bit, see how it just, I mean, it's not a huge difference, but it'll be enough.
Hi, child! You have Oops. You have damned our travels to your presence.
Okay.
You have
You have damned. Here. Let's see how that works.
Hi, child! You have damned our travels to your presence. Hi!
And then the coughing starts. Okay. So hot. I'm so awesome. Okay, this I'm gonna have to bring down, like, quite a bit.
Hi, child! You have damned our travels to your presence. Hi!
That's bitter. Now this is all coughing, and I'm just gonna cut it out because they really don't need a blooper of me just sitting here hacking a lung.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so awesome.
Oh, where was I?
Oh, damn it.
Oh, right there.
Okay. And there was a weird mouth noise. What the hell is that? Okay. Go back and cut all this coughing out. Okay. This is where it starts. Yes. Okay. And delete.
Hi! Ivan frowned, bowing her.
Okay, so that's not very natural, so I'm going to undo that and try and find a place where I can have some more space. But I can't because I need to cut this noise out, so I might have to insert some silence. And that'll be fun, so we'll go ahead and do that just so I can show you how. Okay, so here,
Ivan frowned.
It doesn't sound natural. There's too much of a... it happens too quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert some silence. I'm come here to edit, and they have a thing called insert silence. And you can insert a duration. 2 seconds is a little much. 1 second's a little much, to be honest. But I'm going to put it in there so I can edit it down. So.
Hi! Ivan frowned.
So there we go. Now I've inserted silence, and now I can edit down again as appropriate. So here we go.
Hi! Ivan frowned, bowing her head respectfully.
So you're probably noticing that it is really silent compared to the rest of the podcast. And again, that's because I haven't done a noise reduction on it yet. Once I do the noise reduction, that stark silence is not going to be as big of a deal once it's all finished. So you can even see in the waveform that's like kind of thick here, and then it goes really thin and then thick. We'll fix that later.
Aye! Ivan frowned, bowing her head respectfully.
Okay. Onward.
My lord! One of the chambermaids said.
Okay, we're gonna get rid of that. Or not get rid of it, but that's too much. Ugh. That again, too much. There. Boom. Awesome. Continuing on.
One of the chambermaids said, stumbling into the room, red-faced from her pursuit. Your forgiveness! Whoops. Your forgiveness, my lord, I beg! Begone from my sight! Hi! Ivan allowed. Your forgiveness! Whoops. Your forgiveness! Whoops.
Okay, wait.
Your forgiveness! Whoops.
No! Okay. Alright, let's try that. That's really not going to be long enough.
Red-faced from her pursuit. Your forgiveness, my lord, I beg!
That didn't work out well. We'll leave the breath.
Your forgiveness! Whoops.
So we'll get rid of that, and we'll try that.
From her pursuit. Your forgiveness, my lord, I beg!
That sounds more natural. Okay.
Begone from my sight! Hi!
Okay, and
Ivan
once
allowed
again,
the chambermaid to usher her.
I got a little bit crazy. Okay.
Hi! Ivan allowed the chambermaid to usher her from the room. At this point, feeling disparaged at her father's woe and suffering. She did not mean to cause him so much grief. In fact, Ivan constantly sought her father's blessing and praise, but could only receive it indirectly, by the attention paid to her brother Nikolai instead. She was a very strange child, you see. While all of the young ladies of Mercia longed to be the wife of a nobleman, Ivan had always dreamed of being the nobleman that the young ladies are yearning to marry. For as long as she can remember, she has always wanted to be a man. She yearns for greater things, adventure, glory, power, a gentlewoman's touch. Oh, how she longed for grandeur! Oh, how she longed to be a man! Oh, how she longed to bask in the glory that came with being a man! She would never allow this to be known to her parents, however, not after the incident. The incident occurred when Ivan was in her 7th.
So I did really good here, if you've noticed. Like, I didn't mess up a whole lot. And I knew is that I was recording it, too. That seems to happen to me. I have a hard time getting going. I get going, everything's going good, and at the end, it all goes to shit again.
After the incident. The incident occurred when Ivan was in her 7th year of existence. One day, while practicing her posture, eloquence, manners, and all other effects that her mother deemed as vital knowledge, Ivan discovered that she could levitate objects by the mere thought of doing so. She levitated all sorts.
Wait, what?
Discovered that she could levitate objects by the mere thought of doing so.
Okay, so that's a really
She
awkward
levitated
pause,
all sorts of
and
things.
I don't know what I was thinking with that, but okay.
Could levitate objects by the mere thought of doing
Did
so.
I cut off the S?
Levitate objects by the mere thought of doing
I sure did. That must be the S. Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, do not cut your S off or any other one. Oh, dear.
Could levitate objects by the mere thought of doing so.
Yeah, that's still too long. I don't... What the heck?
Objects by the mere thought of doing so.
Yeah, that's better.
She levitated all sorts of things. Chairs, parchment, quills, candles, cats, chambermaids, her mother. Of course, the devil had possessed her to cause her to do such things. Her parents swiftly saw to it that the church stomped the demons from their daughter. It took 3 long years.
Once again, with the long pauses, Ashley. Trying to write a tweet. Now I've lost my place. Wait. Why? Wait. Is this really far away?
Always wanted to be a man.
Yeah.
She yearned grandeur.
Why did this go back so far?
Oh, how she loved incident.
We already know
The
about
incident occurred when Ivan was in her 7th year of existence.
Yeah, we know that.
So. She levitated all sorts of things. Chairs. Do it that the church stomped the demons from their daughter.
I don't know why that did that.
It took 3 long years, over 100 different types of treatments, and thousands of prayers for those demons to be vanquished. Or so Ivan led everyone to believe. Ivan could still levitate objects. Ivan could still levitate.
Well, there we go. I cut my own letter off. Awesome.
Still levitate object.
Object.
Ivan led everyone to believe. Ivan could still levitate object. Ivan could still levitate objects.
My bloopers aren't very long in this one. Amy's going to be so disappointed. I usually have some pretty banging bloopers. Okay. Right. Here we go.
Believe. Ivan could still levitate objects if it pleased her. In fact, Ivan could do all sorts of unimaginable things with her mind. But the law, directly taken from his word, said that things of this nature were forbidden, as they were blasphemous. From his word, said that things of this nature were forbidden, as they were word said that things of this nature were
I'm sorry this part's really boring.
as they were blasphemous.
Don't worry.
Sorcery.
Like I said, the end of it, I mess up a lot, so this will get more interesting towards the end, I promise. But can we just take a minute to, like,
The demons were surely
did pretty good
then
here
for her sexual orientation and longing to be of the opposite gender. Ivan didn't wish to return to the church, nor endure the treatments again. So she suffered in silence, hiding her true identity from all, except, of course, from Nikolai. Nikolai was the scholarly type. While that particular asset of his wasn't necessarily a terrible feat, young Nikolai was the heir to the Harris estate. His birthright required him to be a man of affluence and power, riches and strength, bravery and valor, but not a simple scholar. Those artsy sorts could only serve as entertainment to great men, but could not be great men. No, a great...
Yeah, I'm going to pause here and save. I'm so nervous now that I'm going to lose it. For anybody who wasn't here when I first tuned in, I edited like a minute and a half of the podcast, and then I got a fatal error and the whole thing closed, so I lost all the editing that I did. But luckily it wasn't anything too crazy, so it will be quick to go back and fix. Especially if you ever had to edit something and then lose it and then edit it again. Editing it again is so much easier.
Man is defined by his...
I mean, it still sucks, but... Did I just start it over again? See, that's what I do when I get to talking and I don't pay attention.
So the lessons. Okay. Sword fighting, history lessons.
That's okay. I knew kind of where we were because I had just looked at the timestamp. Oh, Ashley, you're such a hot mess.
He studied the rocks and the earth.
Okay, we're not quite there yet.
Sorts could only serve as entertainment to great men, but could not be great men. No, a great man is defined by his victories, his prosperity, and his blood, as he intended it to be.
So one other thing I want to address too for anybody who is interested in reading a podcast, sometimes authors will have typos in their stories, and you just have to make sure you just read what's supposed to be there and not what is actually there. I feel like that's common sense, but sometimes people read the mistakes. Just read it how you think it's probably supposed to be read. And if you're not sure, ask the author, and they'll work with you.
Intended it to be. He was yet another source of his parents' suffering, for he wished for a simple life, one not defined by his grandeur. He studied the heavens, he studied the rocks and the earth, he studied the way people interacted with each other, he studied his sister's strange behavior. He thirsted for knowledge, and he needed to understand why his sister would wish to be a man. Well, he knew why she would want to be a man, for who would want to be a woman, lacking freedoms and justifications for their actions? but he knew no woman who would ever wish to be a man. It was odd. She was odd. That made her a perfect case to...
Yeah, so there's some mouth noise right here that I'm just gonna get rid of because I don't like it. Okay. Right.
That made her a perfect case to study. When Ivan approached him...
More mouth noise. I'm telling you, it is a pet peeve. Okay.
Study. When Ivan approached him, pleading with him to allow her to disguise herself as him and travel to his lessons in his place, Nikolai was curious. If she were to complete the tasks of the lessons, sword
Here's
fighting...
another... You can see here where I've taken a breath and then a space and then I start talking. I think I'm going to try to leave the breath and then just see.
Curious. If she were to
That sounds
complete the
better.
tasks of the lessons, sword fighting, history lessons, the book of his word studies, political and situational studies, dramatic speaking and flamboyant body movements, and, of course, the crash courses in arrogance, chivalry, and bigotry, in a competent manner, then his father would hear of his successes, easing his suffering brought by his weak song. Easing his suffering brought on by his weak son.
Okay, Ashley. Where would...
Successes, easing his suffering brought by...
Okay. That one should be pretty straightforward.
Would hear of his successes, easing his suffering brought on by his weak son. When they were but children, this wasn't a difficult task. As siblings, the two looked quite similar in appearance, with Ivan only being a couple years younger than Nikolai. It was simple for Ivan
There
to
I
tuck
did
her
it
long
again.
curls...
You guys are hearing this, right? Like, why do I do that? It's so annoying. Okay.
It was simple for Ivan to tuck her long curls beneath a hat and dress in her brother's clothes. Ivan was surprisingly adequate during lessons, especially sword fighting. Oh, how she loved to use a sword.
If anybody has any questions while I'm doing this, feel free to use the chat box that Amy's talking in, and I will answer any questions that you have or concerns about editing or podcasting or whatever you need.
To use a sword. The long metal object became as familiar as a second arm
Damn it. Yeah.
to her, and she was quite masterful with it. She had become quite good at being a boy. She could speak like a boy, acquired the gait of a boy, and could fight like a boy. That's right, children, though none of you are actually children, as you need to be 17 years or older to be reading this due to the maturity... That's right, children, though none of you are actually children, as you need to be 17 or older to be reading this due to the maturity rating and applicable warnings. Ivan had manly swag.
Oh my gosh, just mouth noise. That's so bad. I can't take it. Okay.
Applicable warnings. Ivan had manly swagger.
Oh no, I think I'm gonna have to put a silence in there, or maybe copy some of that
To be
silence and put
reading
it in
this
there.
due to the maturity rating and applicable warnings. Ivan had manly swagger.
Do I wanna... Maybe I'll just cut this silence and paste the silence right here. You can do some creative things when you're editing.
Applicable warnings. Ivan had manly swagger.
That's better.
While she was taking his lessons for him, Nikolai could stow away with his writings and just study. Nobody bothered Ivan while she was locked in her quarters, so there wasn't anybody around to discover her missing. As they grew older, their bodies began to undergo changes, however. Ivan grew curves in places where men didn't, and Nikolai's voice deepened, and he began growing hair where women couldn't. Ivan did her...
Oh, that noise is so awful. I keep saying that, but really it's terrible. Okay.
Voice deepened, and he began growing hair where women couldn't. Ivan did her best to keep her voice low, and she bound her entire torso tightly in strong cloth, hoping that the cloth would determine it to
Ah!
narrow her hips and flatten her chest. The lack
Why did that happen? I swear.
cloth would determine it to hoping that the cloth would determinately narrow her hips and flatten her chest,
Is that
hoping
this?
that the cloth
Yeah.
would
Delete. Continue.
cloth, hoping that the cloth would determinately narrow her hips and flatten her chest. The lack of facial hair, she constantly insisted, was a result of keeping well shaved.
Mm.
Oh.
Don't need to keep any
Ivan
of that.
well shaved. Ivan could not only Sir Maximus! Ivan scolded me, still standing in the frozen scene that we left her in. The backstory is becoming unnecessarily garrulous, and I'm cramping from holding this position. Ivan was an impatient girl.
Okay. Okay.
Position. Ivan was an impatient girl.
Dog.
Moving along,
No.
then. She was escorted back to her chambers and locked within. She scaled the side of the estate building, her small, womanly fingers easily gripping the stones. Whoops. Her small, easily gripping the stones. Whoops. Her small, womanly fingers easily gripping the building. Her small, womanly fingers easily gripping the
So I don't like that transition, so I'm going to undo it. And I'm going to give it a little more. I'm going to delete it. Or move it. What did I just do?
her small, womanly fingers easily gripping the stones.
I don't know what I just did. There. Okay, moving on.
The side of the estate building, her small, womanly fingers easily gripping the stone walls, to her brother's balcony, as she had done many times before, wherein she found Nikolai pacing frustratedly. "Brother!" she announced. "Oh, brother!" she announced.
That happens sometimes. You read something wrong and then you're like, wait, that's not right. So you have to reread it.
"Brother!" she announced, throwing open the emerald curtains to his chambers. "What has disquieted you so?" Nikolai ceased his amulet. Nikolai ceased his amulet.
So here's one of
Is
those
that a noun?
instances where I don't think the author used the correct word.
Amulet. Let's Google it.
So I Googled it. You'll hear me do these things.
Ambulate. I know. Amulet.
So I Googled.
Verb.
Google is your friend. I was too lazy to ask the author because I just wanted to get it done.
Ambulated, ambulating. Ambulation.
Which
That's what we'll do. We'll just substitute ambulation.
I also like to narrate what I'm doing while I record, clearly.
Nikolai ceased his amulet. Nikolai
This
ceased
one?
his amulet. Nikolai ceased.
Okay, so we're gonna just do that. Oh wait, I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut it. But let's see what it sounds like.
She announced, throwing open the emerald curtains to his chambers. "What has disquieted you so?" Nikolai ceased his ambulation to regard his sister with a ferocious gaze.
So there we go. So then I'm gonna paste that. There we go. And I'm gonna save it. Because if I have to edit this again, I probably won't do it. Oh. Okay.
His sister with a ferocious gaze. "Father is demanding I proclaim a marriage soon."
Oh, wait.
Brother, she announced, throwing open the emerald curtains to his chambers, what has disquieted you so? Nikolai ceased his ambulation to regard his sister with a ferocious gaze. Father is demanding I proclaim a marriage soon to carry on our family's lineage. Zounds! Sister... Oh. Father is demanding I proclaim a marriage soon to carry on our family's lineage... Father is demanding I proclaim a marriage soon to carry on our family's lineage. Zounds! Sister, why are you nude?
Okay. Hope you like my boy voice that I'm using there. It's super hot. Okay, we're gonna cut this, and it's going in the blooper file for Amy. Okay, and back here.
Ferocious gaze. Father is demanding I proclaim a marriage soon to carry on our family's lineage. Zounds! Sister, why are you nude?
Okay, so I'm gonna just decrease this, decrease by 20%. Okay, better.
Lineage. Zounds! Sister, why are you nude? Her face darkened with a blush. I'm clothed enough, thank you, she spat. You wouldn't think twice if I were a man. He rolled his eyes. Max! Sir Max! Do something, please! Right then. Despite Ivan's disgruntled sigh. Despite Ivan's
Okay,
Despite Ivan's disgruntled sigh.
we're going to get rid of that. Delete. And we're also going to take this down just a little bit. Okay.
He rolled his eyes. Max! Sir Max! Do something, please!
Okay,
Right then.
I'm gonna do this. You don't have to do all these individually. You can just do a general volume decrease, like at the end of the editing or the beginning, but I don't like to do that. I like to do it as I go.
Please? Right then. Despite Ivan's disgruntled sigh, she dressed herself in her brother's apparel, so that his eyes would no longer be subjected to her lack of modesty.
Okay, that was a weird lip smack.
His apparel, so that his eyes would...
So we're just gonna get rid of that.
She dressed herself in her brother's apparel, so that his eyes would no longer be subjected.
Okay, so this is really weird. There's like a really weird pause here that I don't care for.
Dressed herself in her brother's apparel, so that...
Like, I don't know why there's this huge pause.
Brother's apparel, so that his eyes would no longer be subjected to her lack of modesty. She
Sorry
tucked the
about my
long,
dog.
acorn-colored hair of hers, the hair she had inherited from her mother,
Okay,
but
I
not
messed this up
literally,
several
mind you,
times.
but rather the trait had been passed on by way of genetic inherent. She tucked the long, acorn-colored hair of hers, the hair she had inherited from her mother, but not literally, mind you, rather... Oh, damn it! She tucked the long, acorn-colored hair of hers, the hair she had inherited from her mother. But not literally, mind you, but rather the trait had been passed on by way of genetic inheritance beneath a cap.
Okay, so where did that start? I think here.
The hair she had inherited from her mother,
No,
but
it
not
started
literally.
here.
She tucked the long, acorn-colored hair of hers, the hair she had inherited from her mother, but not literally, mind you, rather... Oh, damn it! She tucked the long,
Okay,
acorn-colored hair...
Alright. Let's see.
His eyes would no longer be subjected to her lack of modesty. She tucked the long, acorn-colored hair of hers.
Okay, I don't like it. I'm gonna leave this breath in.
Eyes would no longer be subjected to her lack of modesty. She tucked the long...
Okay, that's better. Sometimes it's just better if you leave a breath in, you know what I mean? Okay.
Genetic inheritance beneath a cap. Certainly she could pass as a boy, but not of 17 as she was, nor of 20 as claimed to be as her brother, as she claimed. I'm really fucking this up. Certainly she could pass as a boy, but not of 17 as she was, nor of 20 as she claimed to be as her brother.
Okay.
By way of genetic beneath a cap. Certainly she could pass as a boy, but not of 17 as she was.
Okay. And we'll cut that. And we'll paste it over here. And we're back here.
Cap. Certainly she could pass as a boy, but not of 17 as she was, nor of 20 as she claimed to be as her brother. Significantly better, thank you, Max, Nikolai said appreciatively.
And here we have another long random pause where I don't know.
You're quite
Okay.
Nikolai said appreciatively. You're quite welcome, Sira. Ivan crossed her arms across her chest, an unhappy pout forming across her face. You were saying, Nikolai? It took Nikolai several of the
What's with this pause?
It took Nikolai several of the briefest moments to backtrack to their previous conversation before the issue of nudity. Nikolai? It took Nikolai several of the
I don't even know what that. Like, what was I even doing? It's so weird.
You were saying, Nikolai? It took Nikolai several of the briefest moments to backtrack to their previous conversation before the issue of nudity arose. Ah, yes, he said, preening himself in the mirror. He swiftly turned on his heel to face Ivan, his features contorting dramatically before he pointed an accusatory finger at his sister. You have been wooing one of the Thomas girls. Her father has... Oh, sorry. You have been wooing one of the Thomas girls. Her father has approached our father with a proposal for our union. Father... Wait.
This is where I was trying to figure out who was talking.
Okay. Alright. You have been wooing one of the Thomas girls. Her father has approached our father with a proposal for our union. Father insists that we marry upon his return home, to carry out my duty as heir to the Harris estate. He dropped to his knees, burying his face in his...
Okay, so we need to get rid of this part here. Right there.
accusatory finger at his sister. You have been wooing...
That didn't work out. What is that breath? What is going on? So it's here.
Sister. You have been wooing one of the Thomas girls.
Just gonna get rid of that.
Toy finger at his sister. You have been wooing one of the Thomas girls.
Wait.
Toy finger at his sister.
I need to get rid of the beginning of that breath. I told you I was picky. I was not lying. I do a lot of zooming in and out.
Before he pointed an accusatory finger at his sister. You have been wooing one of the Thomas girls. Her father has approached our father with a proposal for our union. Father insists that we marry upon his return home, to carry out my duty as heir to the Harris estate. He dropped to his knees, burying his face in his hands. Such a burden you place upon my poor soul, sister. There was a long moment of silence, where Ivan simply watched her brother in his frozen position on the floor, highly amused. He let his hands drop suddenly and sat back onto his heels. How was that? He asked with a quirked eyebrow. He was, of course, referring to lessons that Ivan had been giving him on the art of dramatic speaking, flamboyant gestures, and on the art of dramatic speaking, flamboyant gestures, and overall
Just zooming in here again. I think the easiest way to learn how to do this is to just fiddle with it, to be honest with you. It takes some time, but once you get it, you got it.
flamboyant gestures, and overall douchebaggery. It was vital that Nikolai be able to perform appropriately and believed before his father and his father's associates. Oh, sorry. It was vital that Nikolai be able to perform appropriately. It was vital that Nikolai be able to perform appropriately and believably before his father and his father's associates, else the scam the siblings were pulling could easily be uncovered.
Okay.
It was vital that Nikolai be able to perform appropriately. It was vital that Nikolai be able to
Found them all.
douchebaggery. It was vital that Nikolai be able to perform appropriately and believably before his father and his father's associates, else the scam the siblings were pulling could easily be uncovered.
Hmm.
Were pulling could easily be uncovered. Ivan applauded his performance with vigor. Brilliant! Brilliant! Covered. Ivan applauded his performance with vigor. Brilliant! Brilliant! Jesus. Brilliant! You're really coming along! Ivan applauded his performance with vigor. Brilliant!
I can't, I'll put that in the bloopers, but, it's so short. Oh, jeez. Okay. Yes, hello, dog. I'm busy. Go away. Okay.
Performance with vigor. Brilliant! You're really coming along! Nikolai's grin soon contorted into a pout as he remembered his sufferings. What am I to do? Come now, Ivan said, placing her hand on his shoulder. Bessie's a lovely girl. She's thick, child-rearing hips, and...
Okay, so I need to do this volume. It's too loud. I'm just gonna... Okay, that's good.
Come now, Ivan said, placing her hand on his shoulder. Bessie's a lovely girl. She's thick, child-rearing hips, and large, supple... Her brother knocked her hands away from her chest before she could make any inappropriate gestures. Is that what you look for in a woman? He fell over theatrically, pressing the back of one of his hands to his forehead, and held the other... Is that what you look for in a woman? Pressing the back of one of his hands to his forehead.
Pay attention to what you're doing.
He fell over theatrically, pressing back... For in a woman? He fell over theatrically, pressing the back of one of his hands to his forehead, and held the other out before him, high in the air. Oh, I do not wish to marry! Please, Ivan scoffed. Bessie's...
Oh, everything's so choppy right now. But we're almost done. Save that again. Okay.
Oh, I do not wish to marry. Please, Ivan scoffed. Bessie's head is as empty as her bosom is voluptuous. She waved her hand in the air, shooing an invisible fly. What's wrong, brother? Fancy men, do you? Certainly not, he interjected, sitting upright. I do not wish to marry anyone of any gender. Certainly you can sympathize. Ivan straightened, squaring her shoulders and widening her stance. Ivan straightened, squaring her shoulders and widening her stance. Sympathize? 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 Gender. Certainly you can sympathize. Ivan straightened, squaring her shoulders and widening her stance. Ivan straightened, squaring her shoulders and widening her stance. Sympathize? 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 I should think.
Sympathize. What's that even
Sympathize? Sympathize?
I'm so bad.
Shoulders and widening her stance. Sympathize? Sympathize? I should think not. If I were a man, I would leap at the opportunity to marry a fair lady. You've only just said that Bessie was a dullard. Well, I would not marry Bessie. She closed her fist and placed one on each of her constricted hips. No, I would marry the fairest, most Angite. No, I would marry the fairest, most Angite, most determined woman, not all the women, just the one. No, I would marry the fairest. No, I would marry the fairest.
Okay, so I need to get rid of all this. Okay, cut that here. Paste that. Continue. Oh, you know what? I'm going to mess that up again.
Each of her constricted hips. No, I would marry the fairest, most Angite, most determined woman in all the land. Nikolai snorted. And she would have you. And she would have you. If I were a man, I would be the best man to ever live. Of course she would have me. And what do you propose to do about Lord Grundyblossom? Of course she would have me. And what do you propose to do about Lord Grundyblossom's inquiries for your hand, sister? What? What are you... There hasn't... Lord Grundyblossom? The Lord Grundyblossom of the Grundyblossom family? He laughed. The very same. Have you not heard? Father is considering his offer.
Ow.
The only offer he's ever received, mind you. For your hand in marriage. But I do not wish to marry Lord Grundyblossom. Then you can feel my sorrow.
Let's see. What's this? Here, we'll leave that little breath. Get rid of that, and we'll keep going.
My sorrow. Besides, it was only a matter of time. You're 17 now, after all. You'll soon be an old maid, dear sister. Ivan departed from her brother's room, her mind clouded with gloom.
Okay, and we'll get rid of this weird pause and continue on.
Mind clouded with gloom. She did not want to marry a man, any man, but she certainly did not want to marry Lord Grundyblossom. His family had been reaching for glory for years and failing miserably until he was born. This particular fellow was conniving and swarthy enough to obtain a foothold on some level of importance. Yes, it was certainly an easier life to be a man, Ivan's heart acknowledged, her longing dampening her spirit. She slowly walked across the dusty, grimy, filthy, diseased town, and ignored Igor the lame fool, as he writhed upon the dirt, performing his act of the festive worm for the idiotic townspeople. It was peculiar, Ivan thought, as she trotted past. I do not trot! Of course, excuse me, Sarah.
This story is really kind of interesting to read. I think if I could go back and do this, I don't know. I think there's a couple things I would make it do to make sure people understood who the narrator was.
It was peculiar, Ivan thought, as she trotted past. I do not trot! Of course, excuse me, Sarah. It was peculiar, Ivan thought, as she strode past. Much better. As she strode past the fool, typically he would have quite a significant number of idiots gathered around him to watch his act. She soon noticed that the idiots were all gathered elsewhere. In fact, there was quite a bit of commotion going on in front of the pub today. Ivan decided that she would see why. Oh, Ivan decided that she would see why said commotion was taking place on this particular day. However, you today. Ivan decided that she would see why said commotion was taking place on this particular day. However, you, dear listener, will not know what this hubbub was all about, for this is where the chapter ends. Okay, so that last pause was in there because the story originally said Dear Reader, and I changed it to Dear Listener because it makes more sense when you're listening to something. Right, so that marks the end of this recording, the end of this chapter. You can see that we still have all this extra stuff and I need to cut it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag my cursor here on the bottom. I'm going to drag it all the way across so that I have the rest of the file selected. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to delete it out. So now we have a 19-minute, 33-second recording as opposed to like a 1 hour some minute recording. Now, I'm going to zoom the whole recording out, so that's what it looks like from beginning to end. As you'll recall, as I've mentioned a few times, when I was editing the beginning, I lost what I was doing, so I still need to go back and do the 1.5 minutes again. But for the sake of now, we'll just go ahead and call this recording done. There are a couple things I have left I need to do. For example, just looking at this, I can see whatever is going on here and here. I need to go back in with my volume editing capabilities. So what's going on here? Well, here we go. So whatever is going on here is too loud. Begone from my sight! Hi! Right, I thought I did that. Maybe I didn't do that. So I'm just going to really quickly decrease the volume. Now, because of the mic that I'm using, I don't really need to increase the volume everywhere. I think that I think it's going to work out okay that I don't need to. But like I said earlier, sometimes if you're editing someone else's podcast or you don't have a great mic, you do need to increase the volume. Luckily, I don't have to do that. Where's the other one? That literally still looks like it's still big. Why does it look like that? Let's go find out. So I love zooming in and out. It's such a great, easy, quick thing. Well, of course it is. It's literally just zooming in and out, but I don't know. I like it. It makes me feel powerful. Your forgiveness, my lord, I beg! I know I decreased the volume on that one already. It didn't even look bad. I don't even know what I was just saying. Okay, dog, calm down. The other one is here. Sure. Let's head over here and figure out where it is. It looks like it's here. Big God! Brother! Brother! Okay, so I need to just, not too much, just a little bit. Perfect. Okay, now let's select all. And we're going to go ahead and do, well, we're going to save it. Then we're going to do the noise reduction. So, if you're ever recording a podcast, noise reduction is so important. And you may not think that that's true, but it is. It basically takes away the buzz sound that runs in the background of the recording. So, when I do noise reduction in Goldwave, I usually use these presets. If you know what you're doing, you can do this up here with this graph. I don't know how to use that. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I use the presets. I usually do very light hiss,
I did initial noise last time, and it was alright. So let's try a very light hiss. Alright, hold on, let me go back to the beginning and at least edit out that long thing here so that this works better. Yeah. Boom. Alright, now let's try this again. There it is. So we're going to do a very light hiss.
This podcast was downloaded from fanfiction audiobooks. The mildly perilous and mostly tragic-comic misadventures of Sir Roderick Gryffindor and...
Okay, so I'm going to show you what these other ones do. Hiss removal is usually way too bad, and it sounds like you're speaking out of a tunnel.
This podcast was downloaded from fanfiction audiobooks.
So it's got this like buzz quality to it that I don't care for at all.
The mildly perilous and mostly tragic comic.
I don't like that, so I don't ever use that one. The other one I never really use is reduce hum.
This podcast was downloaded from fanfiction audiobooks.
Actually, it sounds pretty good right now. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
The mildly perilous and mostly...
It depends on how bad the podcast is. Initial noise is alright.
This podcast was downloaded from fanfiction audiobooks.
And light hiss.
The mildly perilous and mostly tragic comic misadventures of Sir Roderick Gryffindor and Sir Ivan Harris.
Which one do I want to use?
Written by Rumples. Read by Dr. Wynne.
I think I'm going to use initial noise.
Chapter 1, in which Ivan...
Alright, so I'm going to hit OK. And now it's going to reduce the noise for me. And it does take about a minute or so. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to plug my Mac in. Because it's dying. And it's my main computer. The problem is Goldwave doesn't work on a Mac, which is really one of the biggest tragedies of our time. It only works on the PC. So, here we go. As we wait for this to save. I can't believe I recorded and edited an entire podcast today. It definitely was not in my plans, but I did it. So I was just going to record it, but you know, sometimes these things happen. Oh, my dog. Hey, dog, no. Okay, no, go over there. There we go. Yay. Now, this should be better.
Wasn't anybody around to discover her missing. As they grew older, their bodies began to undergo changes, however.
Sounds a lot better.
Ivan grew curves in place.
Sounds a lot better. So there's that. So the next thing I'm going to do, if, say, I thought that this was going to be finished, I will now save it. But as you see, I've been saving it as a WAV file, but the WAV files are too big to transfer. So I'm going to change it to an MP3. There we go, MP3. And we're going to save it. And I'm going to get rid of in one of the most creepy things that's happening to me in a while, my Apple webcam camera's on, and I don't know why. There it went off. Sorry, that was really creepy. Okay. So we have that done. So now basically the podcast is finished. Ish. I mean, it's not actually finished. It's finished-ish. So here's a story. So if you're gonna, the next step you would do is HP Fanfic Talk. You can come here to the FFab requesting area, and you can submit a podcast here. Yay! Here it is. So here's one that I already submitted. So you can say, here's the SynSpace file. That's what I used to upload the thing. So the next step would be to go to synspace.com, upload the file, and then fill out this form, and then submit it, and then Amy listens to it, checks it, makes sure it's good, and then you're good. And that's really all there is to editing and submitting a podcast for release. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that I've done here or editing, if you have questions about editing in Adobe Audition or also um, 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 wait for it. The other one that is free. I can't think of the name of it right now because I am an awful person. But the free software that you probably already know the name of. If you have any questions about editing in that software, let me know. I also can use that, and I don't like it, but I can answer them. And Amy is also a really great source. She's probably a better source for, oh my God, what is the name? Audacity! Audacity! A better source for Audacity than I am. So, she can probably help you out more than I can. But what you just saw today is generally it's similar. Like, it's still cut and paste. You can still reduce noise, although it's slightly different. I don't think it has the presets. There's a way that you can do it that is pretty simple. So if you have any questions about that stuff, just let us know. We can totally help you out. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for tuning in.